have asked, have said it would be good for Nigerians to devalue so that it would be more inconvenient for people to import. And I've seen where they are coming from. In fact, government have also devalued severally. When you look at recent history, from 2015 till date, 2021, how many times have we devalued? Just this year alone, we have devalued 2 times. So, but what has changed is the question, and that is what we form my position, whether we should devalue. When you look at it in 1993, when we started devaluing our Naira based on IMF's advice, even though the advice itself was not wrong, because some countries adopted the policy correctly, but we never did. As we were devaluing, our factories were shutting down. So the strength of our local currency that should have grown naturally, we have to defend it at a time. So when we say that we should devalue, what we are saying is that the means of exchange of Naira to other currencies should be weaker. It is good for countries that are exporting because it means more countries will afford your good and you will keep jobs in your country. But that is not the case for Nigeria. And the reasons, I'm going to mention them one after the other. First, when you devalue, you are going to increase your foreign loan. Nigeria increased foreign loan between 2016 to 2017 by over 1 trillion naira. Don't take my word for it. Do the math with the debt management office figures. This year alone, between second quarter of last year and second quarter of 2021, we have also increased foreign debt by not less than 1 trillion naira again. As a matter of fact, I spoke with some media houses, I think last day of February this year. And it was at a time where central bank has just announced devaluation of the Naira. And I'm talking of official figure. I'm not talking of parallel market rate. So if we keep adding 1 trillion naira to the national debt, you see the total number of amount we are owing in national debt. Most of them were not borrowed. The number increased because we devalue. And when you devalue foreign loan, it's going to have negative impact on the people because, of course, you are going to get the money from Naira. You are going to get it from oil. So the domestic markets, the domestic economy, which are household consumption, investment in the country, and government. It is these 3 components that we pay. Now, an economy that imports most of the things that they consume, Q1 report 2020, Q2 report 2020, Q3, Q4, till second quarter report 2021, our trade is always in deficit. And these are not my figures. National Bureau of Statistics, they keep revealing, even central bank report also shows that we have been having trade deficit. And you may think because it is COVID. Before COVID, what do we have to export? Crude oil and few agri-produce here and there. What else do we have? But from the suit material that we wear to the human hair that our women put on to look good, to name it, even some of the shoes, eyeglasses, name it, phones, we keep importing them. And we now say that when we devalue, our currency will be stronger. Who is lying to us? Because the economics they are talking about is one-sided. We are saying devalue so that the rest of the world can buy more of your products. What are we selling to the rest of the world? That is the argument those that are for devaluation have not mentioned. We can devalue if we'll be exporting significant amounts. When you're exporting, it means you'll be sustaining job market locally. But check what National Bureau of Statistics says, 33% is the unemployment rate. And we are not talking about the entire population. We are talking of just 85 million Nigerians. And by the way, even the labor force number, which is sad enough, has even dropped. Is it that people died or people have given up, or our best in terms of professionals, they have left the country? Because our labor force is not just that unemployment increased, even labor force significantly dropped. So you have about 70 million people, taking care of approximately 140 million people, or to be charitable, 130 million people, if you say our population is 200 million. How on earth with 33% of 70 million be unemployed? And that is for the entire economy. Look at youth unemployment. It's even way beyond that. And you still have those that are underemployed in the same numbers. So if you say such economy should keep devaluing, you are saying that we will not just depend on on other countries with our hard labor. You are saying that we should remain in slavery. That is what it means technically, because how long will it take us, to start production locally? When you say keep devaluing, what it means, which is my final argument on devaluation, is when you devalue, the quality of money, not quantity, the quality of money people have in their hands. For instance, minimum wage is 30,000 naira now officially, even though most states are still struggling to pay. In 2011, the minimum wage was 18,000. 18,000 could buy 2 bags of rice, and this is economics. It is what money can buy. It is not nominal figure of money. In 2018 or 19, when government brought 30,000 minimum wage, till now, how many bags of rice will 30,000 buy? Approximately 1 bag. What happens? We are saying labor, we are going to increase your salary, but what we are giving you effectively, if you use 2011 as base year, could only buy half of your consumption. So, are we now making labor to be better as a country? And we want productivity from the same labor without compensating them at best. Whatever figure you call it, because if you say you are devaluing, it should reflect on the entire economy. But if it's not reflecting because of inflation, then some people have to suffer it, which is why households in Nigeria are wallowing in poverty, because when you devalue and the people's quality of life has dropped, which we call standard of living, because cost of living will increase, the only thing you have told the people to do is to keep growing in poverty, penury, and deprivation. The proposal Mr. Vice President gave, the cost of it, the opportunity cost of that proposal is 2 trillion naira that we had to debt profile. The cost of it is about 7 million Nigerians that will get into poverty net. Another cost of it, that your inflation, currently we are 15.99%, approximately 16%. The cost of it is higher inflation. So how do you say you should allow the forces of demand and supply to adjudicate the value of Naira? And I will tell you, this is funny. It's as if you're asking Anthony Joshua to fight Mr. Macaroni in not comedy, but in boxing. And you put them in the ring, you say you want to know the best boxer out of the two of them, because Mr. Macaroni is a comedian, by the way, has jokingly said he can defeat anybody. That is what it means when you say Naira should compete with dollar, and you wanted the forces of demand and supply to adjudicate price. What is Naira producing? The question is, your production capacity and the strength of your economy will determine the strength of your currency. Unfortunately for Naira, Naira has a lot of people, according to National Bureau of Statistics, who import 80% of their economic life for consumption purposes. It's sad, but it's the truth. I read the IMF staff report that mentioned the same thing, that Nigeria needs to remove subsidy. If you ask me, should subsidy be removed? Yes. The question should be when. It definitely is not now, because Nigeria has not done the needful. Removal of subsidy will be monopolistic, anti-competition. The same thing with electricity generation in Nigeria. People wonder, we have privatized power sector. Why is it that price is going up and we are not seeing light? There's no competition. If I live on the island in Lagos and I don't want to use Eco-Electric, what is my fate? Which other organization can I use? If I live on the mainland and I'm faced with Ikeja Electric, in Abuja AEDC, if I don't want to use AEDC, where do I go to? So Nigerian government have not thought through the implications of policies. World Bank is promoting, saying Nigeria should remove subsidy, and I've heard the Minister of Finance said he's going to give 5,000 naira to about 40 million Nigeria. If you do the math, about 240 billion naira monthly. Monthly, but when you look at the annual figure, I beg about 2.4 trillion naira annually. Compare that to about 2 trillion that government is spending on subsidy. But that is not even the case. The case is that we have not created an effective supply side. You have a population that runs on energy, aka PMS, on daily basis, either for vehicle or for generator. On the other side, we don't have any refinery producing 100 to 500,000 liters of PMS in Nigeria. What it means is that we are going to be faced, or we are faced with exchange rate risks. If our exchange rate were to be what it was in 2011, the price of PMS should come down. Government should not be paying subsidy. So who brought us to the economic quagmire, economic downturn? Should Nigerians be paying for bad policy made by government, which is effectively the case? If exchange rate were to be 100 naira to $1, you and I should not even talk about subsidy. We should even be buying PMS at 50 naira at that exchange rate. But over time, economy was mismanaged. We are now talking about over 400 naira times 8 or times 4, depending on the figure we are using. Let's say 120 naira times, almost times 4 of what exchange rate was, is what we are dealing with now. So when you look at the number, because you have crude oil, you export, then you now import again. So you are faced with exchange rate issues. What is the real issue? So what is the real solution? Is to make refinery work. Either you call it private refinery, and I also think one private refinery is not sufficient because it will create a monopoly. Government has no business doing some kind of businesses. We have 4 refineries that we have turned around, but they refuse to turn like Baba's chair. I'm of the opinion that government should give out the 4 refineries based on competition. Not that a big refinery will buy the 3 refineries or the 4 refineries and make sure they don't work. But we want people who can make the refineries work, or government should get best manager to ensure that we have output. And at that time, when we have output that is sufficient enough for our local consumption and more, that is the time it will make sense for any government to say it wants to remove subsidy. Saying it now is not correct. Saying it now, giving 5,000 naira to 40 million people, what happens to the remaining over 160 million people? What happens to them? In fact, also on the final note, the minister said this money will come through transfer. The last check I have, Nigeria have less than 60 million people with BVN. Where are you going to find the poor? Because you and I will not be part of the poorest of the poorest if you use the available data to calculate. And those watching this program, perhaps, they're also not part of the poorest of the poorest. So these people don't have accounts. They are not within the banking system. How are you going to find them and transfer to them? So you now know that sometimes what government says has not been processed. We get to the media space, push it because it sounds political. Meanwhile, we are talking of economic solution, not political solution. Political solution will not last because there are interests. If you must solve subsidy problem, which is putting a lot of weight on government spending and is weighing government spending down, arguably on infrastructure, my opinion is let refineries work. Why the telecom sector work? Because if I'm not fine with with a company, I move to another company. That is not the case for electricity. I cannot bring a cable from Ikeja to VI because I'm not comfortable with what Eco Electric is doing. So as we have it, it is pure monopoly. And they can decide if monopolies, different regions now unionize, as we have it in Nigeria today. Whatever rate they said they want to charge, they will charge it. If we don't allow them, we are going to have low output. And that is the reason why we're having some of these challenges. Government should make the business environment to be competitive and be fair for more persons to play. The same thing goes for sugar, the same goes for cement. Until we are able to allow people to come into our space to invest, our ease of doing business we keep looking bad. It might not be on paper, but in the real sense of it, but you know the implication. Loss of jobs, more people will be unemployed, and people that should have job potentially, they will also not get the kind of job. Those that want to invest, they will not see Nigeria as an investable environment. And you can see evidence of that is in foreign direct investment that comes to Nigeria keeps going down. Why? Because when you look at our policy and you look at what is on ground, the two are not agreeing and they are not aligning.